All right, here we go. Time for another Sunday video. And today we're going to cast copper axe heads. Let's get to it. All right, for today's video, I want to go ahead and I want to attempt to cast two different types of axe heads. One's going to be solid and represent Ötzi the Iceman's copper axe that was found to be 5,000 plus years old. This first one here is a replica made from bronze. Nothing spectacular, been used for thousands of years, and the process to cast one of these for copper is exactly the same as the bronze one right here. The next one is going to be a hollow axe head, which will allow an L-shaped branch to be placed inside of it and be used as an actual chopping axe. Now, before we get too far down the trail, we got 100 Corporals Corner hybrid skillets with this removable handle dropping to my website as we speak. Now pay attention. Within 1 week, we're going to discontinue this model and make room for something else. So if you've been on the fence, if you've been saving money, if you've been trying your damnedest to get on that site, jump on it now, because once again, within 1 week, this model will be discontinued to make room for something else. Grab them while you can. My website link is in my video description box, and there's 100 sitting there right now. Grab them while you can. Now, along with the 100 skillets that are dropping to my website, don't forget to go ahead and pick up a Corporals Corner skillet bag to complete your order. This one here is more challenging. I've never actually casted a hollow axe head before. Long time ago, I want to say about 5 to 7 years ago, somewhere in there, we went ahead and cast a tomahawk head inside of a box, and it actually worked. And to do that, I had a small plug that I made out of, I want to say clay, and I placed it in the center of where the hole would be and held it with toothpicks and poured around it, and it actually worked. For this style here, I'm going to try to get a stick and shove it inside here and cast around it. That way, the stick might catch on fire, but when I pull the thing out, it should be a hollow void inside there. And for the most part, that's how they did that back in the day, and hopefully it's going to work out. So it'd be a challenge for me, as you know, as in my first time. But if it works out, we now have a secondary option, in my opinion, more viable, to actually resemble what today's axes actually are. And it also increases the front of this in weight. So imagine getting behind that thing, and that chopping force will actually do a lot more damage. So right now we're going to pack that clay inside there, get it nice and tight, and then go on layer number 2. Second layer, we're going to pack around the item. You got one of two ways you can do this. One, you have an existing item and you replicate that item. Option 2, you carve that item out of a piece of wood, therefore you can make the item. Put that all in the clay too. All right, good. Now get your face down next to that, close your eyes, and make like Scarface and blow all that excess off of there.
Are you serious?
Yep. Fill that thing about halfway, 3/4. Last step, we're going to put this piece of wood on here, and in a sawing motion, we're going to go ahead and clean off the excess, make it look nice and pretty. Perfect. Beautiful. Look at that. That's textbook right there. Hard part's going to be lifting this straight up and out. Then you have two halves that equal a whole. No pressure.
Man, you want to slip off real bad, don't you?
Try to go from the back. Try to just lift it towards you if you can, gently. And get underneath there. You got a pocket knife? Try that. Just gently lift that thing out. You got it. You got it. You got it. Good, 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 good. Perfect. Nice. Look at that. Drop that thing inside there and we'll clamp it closed. Don't let go of it yet.
Yep.
Slide it that way a little bit. Right there. And good. You want to hold it together. Done. I'm going to add the copper to the crucible.
I can't see down in the hole.
Ooh, very nice. Very nice. Now for this one here, it's the exact same process. I want to try and make it hollowed out though, so we shove the stick inside here. And when we pour this, hopefully it's going to pour around that stick, and then once it solidifies, I can pull that stick out. You know, a hollow void in there that you can actually place over a stick or an L-shaped branch. So far, so good. We're looking outstanding. Now, the main issue is going to be creating that hollow void in there that we talked about. And to do that, I grabbed a broomstick handle and just cut it off and carved it out in the shape of like an axe head. I'm going to stick that in there and suspend it, hopefully with 3 nails, like 2 in the back and 1 in the front, and just let it set right there. And then as I start to pour, I'll push down on the top of this and pour around it. Now the stick probably, in my opinion, will catch on fire, but the copper or bronze, whichever one I decide to use, should solidify around it enough to leave a hollow void of 2.5 inches or so. So when I carve my L-shaped branch, it should be able to fit inside that axe head, and I can just twist it on. But again, it is what it is, and it's my first attempt with something like this. But if it works, then I know what's possible. Once that copper reaches 1950 degrees, it's going to start to melt. I want to get a couple hundred degrees above that, so I figured 2100 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere in there. It'd be nice and liquefied and shiny. And then I'm going to add some tin to it. Adding tin or pewter to copper creates bronze. So we move from the copper age to the bronze age. Now, real quick, here's my thought process. I put the nails in that plug to suspend it. Once I apply the bronze inside that flask, it might hit that plug and cause it to rise up. So we wrap copper around it to keep it in place. This way it's not going to move left or right or up or down. And if my theory is correct, it should create some type of cavity or void in that axe head. So I'm going to call this a win. Got to grab a file, knock off all these burrs, sharpen it up a little bit, maybe run an actual wire wheel across this to shine this thing up, or a buffing wheel. Most importantly, we do have a void. However, lesson learned, I use a dead tree branch or a dead stick. If I used a live one, meaning being green, it probably wouldn't have burned up. However, with it being burnt, I could easily just dig it right out of there. So check this out. Check that out. Here's our makeshift handle. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this axe head on here. fits just like that. Check that out. This thing is heavy too. So we'll go ahead and tie this bad boy on here. I'm going to secure it with an arbor knot. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap it around across here and then down over here. So let's go ahead and just tie this thing up first with an arbor knot to keep it on the actual handle. Since this one here is socketed, that means it's got a better chance of actually, staying on the axe head, not splitting it, versus the first, generation of these things. They had the split stick, and a lot of people say that most of the time those axes were just for show. As they progressed, they figured out how to socket this thing on here. Look at that. Yeah. That's not coming off. Wow. There we go. So here we have two examples of primitive axes that we just threw together quickly. This one right here, we did this last winter. I want to say probably January, February-ish, somewhere in there. And we did a split stick right here at the head. Technically, you got to put pine pitch glue on it, which we did not. We just wrapped it in number 36 bank line, and it's held tight. It's still in there, has not moved. And the stick is 100% dried out. So these were mostly, used for like a ceremonial, like a chief or a leader would have one of these. Then it kind of evolved into, chopping and ultimately killing. Further on, we moved down the timeline. Still in the BC era, we had copper and bronze socketed axes. And that's what we worked on today. This was a socketed axe. It had a socket inside there. It goes over top of a stick. And you could pine pitch glue, or in this case, just tie it on there and wrap it around. It actually pulls it snug inside there, keeps it fastened. Wrapped it around, we secured it with an arbor knot, and that thing's not going anywhere. And to be brutally honest, this thing's about 1.5 pounds. And I've seen small axes about this length with a 1.5 pound axe head. And I'm willing to bet you if this thing was sharpened up and you hit somebody in the head with it, or the arm, you're gonna leave a mark, guaranteed. I'm actually happy with this. Learned a lot. We're gonna use the green stick next time and perfect this a little bit. We'll come back and revisit this down the road. But this is something that's pretty cool. I mean, if I threw this in the ground right now and they found it in 1,000 years, they'd be like, ooh, there were primitive man here. Be like, no, that was the corporal. Be like, same thing. Now I want to make something perfectly clear. Using this type of casting is not primitive by any means. It's called green sand or Petrobond clay. There's plenty types of green sand out there. Some are coarse, some are fine. This is probably the finest on the market. It shows every single flaw and intricate detail inside here. Now, when you do a method like that, or you use a method like that, you have two options. Make an item from an existing item, common sense, and that's exactly what we did today. Or two, carve an item out of a stick, or a log, or a tree branch, etc., soapstone, and then place it in there. So you're either going to make an item by carving it out, or you're going to use an item. There's no other way around it. Now, back in the day, they had soapstone. They'd actually carve a structure or carve an item into the soapstone, have two halves, pour into it. Once they got, further down the timeline, some of them got lazy and they would just carve into a rock on one side, pour it in there, pull it out. And that was probably mass production, just get them out there, get those axe heads out, So there's plenty of ways to do this. This is just one of the more advanced ways, the way that I learned. But to do this actual primitive way, there's only one guy that I know of that's completely fluent in it, and that's Will Lord. Check him out on Instagram, W-I-L Lord, Will Lord, and he does everything primitive. He's out there finding the chunks of copper that's embedded in the rock, melting it down in an old clay furnace that he built from the landscape, you know, carving the soapstone out, making knives, etc., etc. So to do something like that, it would be tons of man hours. And that's how important these things actually were. This was their tools. You lose these, it's death. So something to think about, but this is actually pretty cool. A lot of weight behind that, a lot of weight. And this is just something that's just rugged and tossed together in my garage. Two things really quick before we get out of here. If you want to learn this method, I'm offering a class here in Ohio, in Chesapeake, Ohio. That's October 17th, 18th, and 19th. And it's on my website. You're going to cast an Utsi style axe. Instead of bank line, we're going to use pine pitch glue. You're going to create that off the landscape. And we're going to use actual sinew. You're going to pull it off in strands and you're going to wrap this thing up. And you can take it home and have an heirloom object. That's the focus of that class. Make an Utsi style axe head and actually attach it to a stick. So that means we're going to go out in the woods. We're going to talk about different types of trees and harder wood, soft wood, things like that. You're going to locate your tree branch like this, cut it out, carve it out. Day one, day two, you're going to go ahead and fasten your axe head to that stick, pine pitch glue that you made from the landscape. So if you're interested in that, check it out. And that link is in my video description box. And last but not least, don't forget the 100 Corporals Corner hybrid skillets that are dropping to my webpage right now. Yes, we're going to replace it with something else. So if you wanted to get one of these hybrid skillets, grab them right now because they're going to be discontinued in a week or so. I'm going to announce it with a midweek video. I'm going to say this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. Blah, 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 blah. And here's the new item. So those that were on the fence, those that were waiting, grab it while you can. Because once they're gone, the item's discontinued. And here's my take on this. I get a lot of flack about that. People say, well, you shouldn't discontinue it. Everybody got a chance to get one. There's not one business in this world that will manufacture the same product, as in, say, go to Chevy, Ford. You know, we're only going to throw a Model T out there, and then 20 years later, we're still holding on to the Model T until you buy it. That's the beauty of business. And if you want to be in business and be successful, you keep items fresh. You 2.0 them. You give them facelifts. Come out with new products. If you peddle the same knives for 10 years, the same bush pots, the same skillets for 10 years, once everybody buys them, why would they buy more? Make sense? So I pride myself in every 3 to 4 months coming out with new products, giving the old products the facelift, improving those products, and I'm going to continue to do so. So on that note, let's go ahead and get out of here. With that, all the gear in my videos can be found in one place, my website, and that's located in my video description box. Now please do me that favor, hit that like and subscribe button, then ring that notification bell. Once you ring that bell, please select all notifications. And as always, thank you for your comments, views, and support. Thanks for watching. Get out in the field, have some fun. I'm going to catch you next time.